Tom Holland just solidified his title as the greatest Spider-Man ever. What's up, everybody? So this is my review of Spider-Man: Brand New Day, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, starring Tom Holland, Zendaya, and John Bernthal. Now, this might be a little bit of recency bias, but I think this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I really enjoyed how this time around they went a little bit more character driven. Even though there is still a lot of the action set pieces and the big spectacle, and there's even like some moments there it truly does feel like you're inside a comic book, which I really, really enjoyed. At the same time, with the story of this movie, which is, Peter Parker dealing with the aftermath of everything that happened at the end of No Way Home. And so now it's his isolation. It's him just being Spider-Man and not really much room for Peter Parker because the life that Peter Parker had is gone. And the whole idea of starting over it's just difficult for him to wrap his head around. And so you see him struggling and you see him just trying like disappear into the persona of Spider-Man. I mean, there's even times where he's talking to authority figures and he's still wearing the costume and talking as Spider-Man. And it's like, this is the way he is coping with everything that happened in the previous movie. And it's kind of heartbreaking in that sense, and the fact that, he knows who they are, particularly MJ, and we know what he dealt with, but nobody else knows who Peter Parker is. They've all forgotten. They just know Spider-Man. And that adds like some really, really great tension to the story, so you're really kind of like waiting for that moment where, okay, are they going to resolve everything finally? Like that was a bit of a worry for me where, okay, it was such a great ending with No Way Home. Okay, they're going to do this one. Are they just going to retcon everything? And like suddenly at some point in the between movies, it was all solved and now we can start happy again. And maybe they're getting married and, however they want, to package that. But they really leaned into, the sad aspect of this, but still have great funny moments. He's got amazing chemistry with John Bernthal. Bruce Banner pops up, and this is the only spoilerish thing I'll say. There is a super awesome fight sequence between Spider-Man and Hulk. And I'm not talking about like, Professor Hulk, from Endgame. I'm talking Hulk smash Hulk, so that was really fun to watch. And believe it or not, maybe I'm in the minority of this. I don't know. I read a lot of online chatter about how more devoted comic book fans didn't really appreciate how the antagonist was handled, and I say antagonist for a very specific reason. I don't want to categorize it as villain. But I loved how the antagonist character was handled. I love how they're introduced and how you follow their journey, to the end, and how everything gets resolved. I really want to say how the manner in which it gets resolved, but I can't. You'll have to see the movie for yourself, and it is totally worth it to go watch. But there's still like an element of Thanos in the sense of you understand the motivations. And this time around, the motivations are much more emotionally based and not necessarily logic based, or ideologically based. Like Thanos was like, his principle was like, we got, basically an extreme environmentalist. We're getting rid of half of everything, and that way, things can flourish again, and there won't be any, people starving and suffering in that way. This time around, it's way more personal, way more tragic, and so you feel that with the antagonist, and the antagonist works within the confines of the story. It wasn't as if the antagonist is introduced just to hint at another movie or another franchise. It's the antagonist is serving the purpose of this story, and so that I really, really enjoyed that. And I loved how even technically things were better and even, and not just different, because I'm truth be told, I was a little nervous that John Watts was not going to be returning as director because he directed the previous three. And I didn't know who Destin Daniel Cretton was, but I do now. And I was thoroughly impressed. I mean, everything from the color palette, which was much different than before. If you remember, like, the first 10 years of Marvel, even afterwards, like the color palette was like this metallic gray thing that got boring at a certain point. This time there's like contrasting colors, lighting differences, so there's texture to it, which kind of adds to the feeling of the movie. The suit looks amazing. It's probably the best suit I've ever seen. It had the same excitement factor that I remember when I saw the first suit in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And so just some great swinging sequences. Everything was put together, I think, expertly and with a lot of care. And it's just, let's tell a really good story and find ways to add spectacle as, icing on the cake instead of the entire thing, so I really appreciated that a lot. And I can't wait to watch it again. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What about you guys? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, click subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.